Hi everyone, my name is Mia,
And I'm George.
and we are Team Willis.
Team Willis!
Yeah, that's my husband. We have been married for 18 years.
18 wonderful years.
Yes, this August it'll be 18 years, and we have been together for 20. And so when Lisa invited us to share with the marriage ministry, we said, sure.
Absolutely.
So
100%. We're there.
we're here. So our topic is stress and marriage.
That is a sermon on the mount.
Those are several books. Okay, but we have
Stress and marriage.
about 8 minutes left, so we're going to try to get it in. So how do we define stress?
So we are going to take this definition from a medical dictionary.
From the American Psychological Association, their official definition.
The
of
official
stress.
definition of stress. So, stress is the physiological or psychological response to internal or external stressors. Stress involves changes that affect nearly every system of the body, influencing how people feel and how they behave.
On the flip side, distress is defined as a type of stress that results from being overwhelmed by demands, losses, or perceived threats. And we believe that whenever people say, oh, I'm so stressed out, they're really talking about distress versus regular stress. Because regular stress can actually help you do a lot better, right?
A perfect example of that is what I do for a living. I'm an ER physician, so I work in the emergency department, and we deal with stress on a regular basis. We have patients who come in literally at the brink of death or already dead, and we have to be able to save their lives or diagnose them with something and treat their condition. And if we were at a period of distress, in other words, the stress was too much for us to be able to handle, I would have quit my job a long time ago. But I actually love the stress, and my physiologic response to some stress has to do with my ability to overcome that stress. And there's a theory in medical training called stress inoculation theory that just helps people to get better with the dealing of stress and how to deal with stress in a better way.
Well, what he describes sounds just like motherhood. Hello. I have to keep people alive too every single day because sometimes they're on the brink of death, or at least they say they are. But whether you are an emergency room physician or a parent or something or someone in between, all of us experience some type of stress. And no one can deny that marriage is extremely stressful as well.
It's a stressor in itself.
It is. Some of the common stressors in marriage are finances, so you gotta make sure that money's right.
Yep.
Communication,
100%.
division of household labor, and as we've already shown, or you can see in the background, children can be a source of stress, or just any relationship that you have with other family members or friends, colleagues, acquaintances. Those are all different things that can cause distress.
Yeah. I mean, so when you think about stress, people oftentimes think that stress is like it's a 2000s thing or a 1990s thing. But stress in marriage has been going on for millennia, if you will. I mean, people in the Bible and marriages in the Bible had stressors that were associated with them. I mean, Adam and Eve had stress.
Yeah. Remember, he told God, "It's that woman you gave me." Stress.
By itself, that's stressful.
And we could go on and on about the different examples of married couples in the Bible, but at the end of the day, marriage does have its own unique set of stressors, and every couple experiences them.
Yeah, we had a very stressful time when I was in residency. We almost got divorced. We've been together for 18 years. We've been married for 18 years and together for 20. But, it was about 5 or 6 or 7 years into our marriage, we almost got divorced. And it was over stupid stuff, y'all. But at the time, I was going through a very stressful time in my life. She was going through a very stressful time in her life. I was in residency, in training in emergency medicine. Very, very stressful time in my life. On top of taking care of patients on a regular basis, I also was working 80 hours a week every single week. And, that in itself is its own stressor. So I would come home from work and I would be, dog tired. I'd eat some dinner that she'd left for me. I'd put my dishes in the sink and I'd go to bed. And then she'd wake up in the morning and be like, you didn't wash some dishes last night? And I'm like, girl, I was working hard yesterday.
And
what
then
you talking about?
And my response was, I was working equally hard because at the time I was working as a teacher. So I would go drop off our oldest son at school and then take our younger son to daycare. And then I would drive to work where I was bombarded with all of my students' requests. Oh, Mrs. Willis, have you graded my paper yet? Or, can you do this letter of recommendation for me? And so when I got home from work, I was equally exhausted. And I was like, listen here, I cooked the food. I went to the store, I bought the food, I cooked the food, and I was nice enough to leave you a nice warm plate. The least you could do is put them dishes in the dishwasher or wash them for yourself. But we found, and I'll take personal accountability for this, I found little things to nitpick about because I was stressed out.
Same.
And he was an easy target.
Yeah, it was. We always talk about the fact that love happens in a marriage, and I loved her and she loved me. But when you're stressed, and we're gonna even go to the point where when we're distressed, we oftentimes we want our partner to commiserate in that level of distress with us. And it's obviously not on purpose, but it's just so that they can kind of feel our pain. And so that was actually a point that our marriage counseling kind of brought us to, is that we oftentimes were focused so much on the fact that we were stressed that our physiologic response was to go to automatically to distress. And what I started realizing, and what she started realizing, was that the more stress that we were going through and the more things that we went through as a couple, the more likely we were to do really well with it, based off of how our bodies and how our minds responded to that stress. And so, one of the things that I did personally was I looked to the Bible. I looked into Ephesians, which is, probably one of the quintessential marriage books in the Bible. And, one of the things that it talks about is how husbands are supposed to submit to their wife and cater to their wife. And I really focused on that. One of the things that was really paramount for us was communication. Communication was huge. And so when she would tell me the things that were stressing her, my goal was to de-stress her the best way that I could. So even if I did work a really hard shift or come home from work and I was really tired, I know that the abilities for me to go and wash the dishes or to cook the kids' food or do something that would help de-stress her, especially if she's had a bad day, was really, really enlightening for her, and certainly obviously showed that I was really in love with her.
And he knew my love language, acts of service. Right. That's right. And the scripture that I focused on was Matthew 6:34. It says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So when we talk about stress, some problems are not meant to be fixed right there in the moment. Some take a little bit longer to peel apart and to work through. And that was something that I learned by sitting down, being quiet, and actually listening to my husband and hearing his heart. Because here he is out there in the world, busting his behind, trying to make a better life for our family. And all I was doing was criticizing him, which was adding to the distress that he already had on top of being a student and still in training. So at the end of the day, if we're bringing this train into the depot, stress in marriage, it's going to happen. But if you say that you're people of faith, we have several resources that can help all of us. And I believe my husband said it best, that it's a problem of perception. When we stop and talk and express to our significant other what's going on in our lives, and we get to the root of the problem, then we can really learn from each other how we both respond to distress and how we can help each other overcome those issues.
And talk about the things that are stress. What's stressful for your spouse or your partner? What are the things that will help de-stress that stressor? And a lot of times with the things that we do in our marriages, it's all about communication. So as long as you communicate what stresses your partner out and how best that you can participate to de-stress that, it oftentimes will lead to a lengthy, loving marriage that's just lasted so long.
And over that time, we recognize that something that might have worked 10, 15 years ago might not be the same thing 20, 30 years into the future.
Yeah. Her love language used to be gifts. Now it's acts of service, and you know, we all can change. So we all grow up, and as we get older, things change.
Yeah. So thank you so much for hearing our spiel about marriage and stress, and we hope and pray that all of you learn different ways to better manage stress in your marriage.
Thank you guys. We love you. Team
Willis.
Willis.
We out.